everyone, Steve Avellino here with Reverse the Aging Processes. I'm a corrective exercise specialist and specialist in senior fitness. I've worked with over 1,100 seniors in the last couple of years, and I've done quite a few programs here at Stoughton. And today we're going to do one of the first in my video series on movement programming for seniors, and this is going to be addressing the feet and the ankles. What we're looking for with our feet is stability. What we're looking for with our ankles is mobility. If the ankles are mobile enough through a certain range of motion, proprioceptors in the ankles will send messages back and forth to the brain, let us know what we're standing on, angles of our feet, if there's a depression in the lawn, things of that nature. Perfect example, Simone Biles just dropped out of the Olympics, and after her vault, she said, "I didn't know where my body was." And that is proprioception. And it's a good thing she dropped out, because with her height and speed and flying through the air, she could get really, really hurt if she doesn't know where her body is. So we'll work on those three things today. First of all, we're going to be working on the arches of the feet. Now, this is important because if you take a look at the angles of your feet or footprints in the snow, they're very rarely parallel, hardly ever. There's usually one externally rotated and the other one externally rotated even more. When that happens, and we're going to take a look at the foot now, if I'm externally rotated, this arch collapses, and you may be able to see the ankle is collapsing in, the knee is collapsing in, and the hip is changing position as well. Now, if you're walking with one foot in a different position than the other, your stride length is different, everything is different. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to have parallel feet. When you're doing this at home, if your balance is good, do it on a carpet, bare feet, parallel feet, and you want to grab the carpet with your toes. When you do that, you feel your arches start to rise. Now, you may not the first time, but over time, you'll feel the arches start to rise. 25% of the bones in our body are in our feet, and 23% of the joints in our body are in our feet. Super important, when the arches start to rise, we literally change the joint architecture of our feet. So when that happens and the arches are working, we now have a less chance of the foot externally rotating and the arch collapsing down and the ankle going inward and the knee changing as well. Most knee pain, though the pain is felt in the knee, a lot of it is due to foot and ankle positioning. Same with the hip. So, standing arches, let's do a few of these. Feet parallel, bare feet grabbing the carpet with your toes. You will feel the arches start to rise a little bit. You may feel one foot before the other. The other thing, you may notice occasionally a cramp, because we very rarely do this with our feet. Eventually, the arches are going to start to rise and you will start to walk a little differently. The feet, when the arches are rising, less chance of them being externally rotated, more chance of them being parallel. So once again, standing, bare feet, parallel feet, grab the carpet with the toes, hold for a few seconds. You can also do this sitting, because it works the calf at a different angle. Bare feet, parallel feet, just grabbing the carpet with the toes. And you will feel the arches of the foot start to engage, become active, and start to rise. These two exercises alone helped one of my private clients, 76 years old, orthotics in her shoes. She couldn't remember between 30 or 40 years due to foot pain. She has not used the orthotics in 7 months, and the foot pain is gone, simply because the arches are doing what they're supposed to be doing in the feet. Next thing we're going to do is we're going to start getting some movement in the ankles and do some calf work. So the first thing you can do, make sure you're safe, lean against a wall or a door, and we're going up on the heels. At that point in time, you're going to feel muscles in the front of the calves here called the tibialis becoming active. If you are a runner or know a runner who has shin splints, try this. It helps quite a bit. So the first time you do it, think safety, okay? Make sure if you're on a door, make sure that the door is closed, no one's going to open it. and you're just leaning back and lifting the toes up on your heels. The farther your feet are away from the wall, the more difficult this movement is. So you can start off kind of close. Just make sure your balance is good. You don't want your feet too close because then there could be a balance issue. So we are just going up on the heels. Then you can go to the kitchen sink, and we're going to go in the opposite direction, and we're going up on the toes just to work the calves. So now we're working the ankles and the calves at two different angles. We are then going to work the ankles. So stability in the feet, mobility in the ankles. The ankles you will find have a problem in dorsiflexion, which would be this position. So if you were walking uphill. Couple problems with dorsiflexion. If you do not have good mobility in the ankles, you have proprioceptors, which send messages back and forth to the brain. And they will tell you what your feet are standing on, the angle you're at, if you're on a lawn, if there's a depression, elevation, and the more messages you can send back and forth to the brain through the feet and the ankles, the better. The better your stability, the better your balance. I can think of 2 clients with foot neuropathy that they now have feeling in their feet simply because we stimulated the feet and the ankles and they're getting the messages. Once the neuropathy starts to go away, obviously your balance and stability is much better. So, that said, let's start off with what is called an ankle glide. And all I'm doing, I'm holding my leg up, I'm bringing the foot forward, and then I'm bringing the foot all the way backwards. This is usually the difficult part, bringing the foot backwards. And that's called a lack of ankle dorsiflexion. The big thing about dorsiflexion is that if it is good, there is less of a chance of you catching a steer or a curb with your big toe because you're able to lift it. So some people with a severe lack of dorsiflexion, walking upstairs and the foot is like this, the big toe can catch on the steer or once again a curb, and then you have balance issues. So once again, ankle glide, where we're forwards, backwards. Do this slow. Think about lining the big toe up with the bone of the shin. You will find that one ankle normally works differently than the other. And sometimes the foot will go in a different direction that you're not planning on, and that's pretty much sticky connective tissue. So we're just loosening this up here and once again activating the proprioceptors. Next thing we're going to do for ankles is rolling. We do not want the knee to move, we do not want the hip to move. And we're just rolling in different directions. And once again, you'll find that one ankle works better than the other. So you can do the standing and seated arch and the ankle glides and the ankle roll while you're watching television. No energy, no effort, but it will make a big difference in the way you stand, the way you walk, and your balance and stability. So, if you have something that you could put your feet up on, make sure you're in a good balance position, and you can hang out like this. This is once again ankle dorsiflexion. I'm feeling a big pull on the back of my ankles, the Achilles tendons, and all the way up the calves. I have some people that will have like maybe a 2x6 or something and just stand on it while they're watching a television show and everything starts to relax. So once again, good dorsiflexion in this position, less of a chance of your toe catching a steer or a curb. Okay, we have about 15 minutes left. Okay. So if you want, you can also stand in this position, which is plantar flexion, but we're in this position quite a bit, especially if you wear heels. So the important one is toes up, heels down, and you should feel a big stretch in the back of your legs. Okay, so from there, we're going to take a half foam roller. Now, once again, you do not need one of these, but you can get it on Amazon. It's pretty cheap. Bare feet, and just put your arches on here. Hold on to the kitchen sink so you're stable, and just kind of roll a little bit. Now we're activating the arches. We're getting some movement in the joint architecture of the feet. But once again, hold on to the kitchen sink so there's no balance issues. And this is just going to loosen up this whole area. Our feet, hands, and face there's more neural real estate from those three areas of the body because they're our interfaces with the world, okay? We feel everything with our feet, we feel everything with our hands, our face, we have hearing, sight, smell. And as far as the feet are concerned, we never do anything with them. All we do is keep them encased in shoes. So let's activate them. There's 7,000 nerve endings in the bottom of each foot. And we just kind of rock a little bit and get those activated. You'll also feel this in the ankles. Next thing you're going to do, and if you do not, most people do not have a balance beam. Some people will use a 2x6 board, and here I'm just going heel to toe. Now in this position, I feel my feet and ankles working big time. You're then going to switch feet, and you can see my feet and ankles are trying to stabilize. Now, a couple things. In this position, which is called a short foot position, and you can do this without a beam, just holding onto the sink, you're working two muscles in the body that are what are called anticipatory stabilizers. The first is a multifidus. It runs the whole length of the spine on both sides really, really deep. The other one is our transverse abdominis, which is literally our human girdle. These two muscles are supposed to start every single movement we do in life, including blinking. So for instance, someone throws a ball at me, I see it out of the corner of my eye, I start to blink. These two stabilizer muscles have to fire because they want to protect my spine and my pelvic girdle for when I do something to avoid the ball or whatever. But think about this. Every move we do in life, these two muscles should fire first. If they don't, it's the equivalent of your CEO and CFO of a company calling in sick for like 40 years. So once again, you can hold on to your sink with one hand, heel to toe, short foot position. Your feet and ankles are going to go crazy in this position because this is a poor balance position. But once again, what we're looking to do is wake up the feet and the ankles and work those anticipatory stabilizers. Next thing we're going to do is work on what is called proprioception. That's the body knowing where it is in space. Simone Biles just dropped out of the Olympics, and once again, after her last vault, she said, I didn't know where my body was, which is tough, especially when you're flying through the air at high speeds. In my foot and ankle programs, we work on proprioception. When we were kids, when you were 7 years old, we were running around the backyard. We weren't looking at the ground, okay? We didn't have to. Our feet and ankles were communicating with our brain. So what we do in this position in my classes, and I'll have your arm so you're safe. So I'm here, I need my foot and ankle to say, okay, even though I'm not looking, I know this part of my foot is not on the board, and my brain will adjust. Proprioception, the body knowing where it is in space. I'll take another step. If I'm here, I don't have to look. My foot can tell me where I'm at, and in turn, my brain can autocorrect. Super important as we age, because if we do not work the proprioceptors in the ankles, it's just like going to the gym for 3 months and then stopping for 6 months. It's a use it or lose it proposition. Proprioceptors start to tone down. They don't work as hard. They're not sending as many messages, and in turn, our balance and stability is compromised. Next thing we're going to do, and I'm going to go over all these things again, is walking backwards. In this program, we walk backwards because it forces the big toe to push off. So if I'm here, slowly walking backwards, the big toe has to become active. Now, there's an added benefit to this. I've had 20 people, 19 with either back or knee pain, gone from walking backwards. This program helped one of my clients with her knee pain, and she actually canceled her knee surgery. So walking backwards when you first start, if you have a center island in your kitchen, hand on the counter, hand on the center island, and nice and safe going back. If you do not, you can use a hallway, hand on each side. After you get comfortable and you are safe, you can start doing this on a regular basis, but we want the stride to be a little longer, okay? Slow and long, we're taking our sacroiliac joints back here where we experience a lot of back pain, and we're moving them in the opposite direction for the first time in years. And it's amazing what happens when you start doing that. Don't worry about what other people think in the neighborhood if you're walking backwards. I have 70 people doing it now. Eventually, we will take over. Okay, so let's go through, what do we have, about 10 minutes? Okay, so let's go through everything again here, just so we're aware of what's going on. First thing, standing arch. Parallel feet, bare feet, grabbing the carpet with your toes. If you do not feel an arch move, that's okay. You just have to make the mind-muscle connection. I have a client in one of my courses in Sharon, fallen arch from knee surgery 25 years ago. Left foot really externally rotated, ankle all the way in. She's been told for 25 years there's nothing you can do. In 4 classes, we get the arch activated. The ankle is starting to assume a more neutral position. Okay? So don't give up on this. Parallel feet, bare feet, grabbing the carpet with the toes, hold for a few seconds. Again. And you should feel the arches start to become active. When that happens, they start to rise and your joint architecture in your foot changes. And you can start eliminating flat feet. Once again, you're externally rotated here, the arch pronates, and you can see my ankle start to collapse inward. You may notice it a lot for people who have problems getting out of a chair. Feet are externally rotated, they get up, the arch, the ankle goes inward, the knee goes inward, and now you're losing all the power that you generated from your hips because we've created an energy leak with the ankle and the knee falling inward. So, standing arch, feet parallel, bare feet, grab the carpet with the toes, feel the arches rise. You can do the same thing sitting down, but it works a little differently because you're hitting a different calf muscle because your knees are flexed at 90 degrees. If you feel the arches start to get sore or cramp, stop. It's just because we haven't used them in a long time. Okay, from there, we're going to go and work the front of the calf muscle and the ankles. Once again, leaning against the door or a wall and going up on the heels. The first few times you do this, just do it 2 or 3 times to activate the muscles, okay? Because I don't want you waking up the next morning cursing me because you are really, really sore. But we very rarely work these muscles, and in turn, they need time to get acclimated. Keep in mind, this is corrective exercise, not physical exercise. All we're doing is we're waking up these muscles. We're not necessarily working them. Next thing, to the sink, and we're just going up on the toes. And just do a few of these. Once again, we're not trying to build big calves. We're trying to activate the whole foot, ankle, knee complex for better stability, less pain. Now we're going to create mobility in the ankles. Once again, with the ankle glide, so toes all the way forward, big toe in line with the calf all the way back. And just do a handful of these nice and slow. You're going to find your feet, when you're going forwards, especially backwards, they may hit it like a weird angle. And that's pretty much a parking brake in the ankle with tight connective tissue. The cool thing about the ankle mobility, I work with one of my private clients. She turns 100 in November. She's been in a wheelchair for about 4 or 5 years. She could not make the mind-muscle connection with her ankles to go back and forth with the feet because she hasn't used them in so long. I started doing it manually for her, and now she can do it on her own and move the feet backwards and forwards using the ankles. The cool thing about that is now when I get her out of the chair and we're doing standing and walking exercises, she's much, much better because her feet are feeling the floor, sending the messages to the brain, and she feels a lot more stable. Next, we go to ankle rolls, and all we're doing, no knee movement, no hip movement. You have to focus on the ankle, and all we're doing is just rolling in different directions. You're going to find that one ankle works differently than the other. And once again, that's sticky connective tissue, maybe the joint not sitting properly. But keep in mind, if one foot and ankle on one side is working differently than the other, it changes the way we walk. That's one side of our body that's walking differently than the other side, and that can cause problems over time. Okay, let's go to the wedge, and once again, if you have something that you can just put your toes on, and we're in this position, toes up, heels down. We are very rarely in this position in real life unless we're walking uphill. If you've been wearing heels for a while, you're in the exact opposite position. But even though I do this all the time, I can feel it in my Achilles tendons and the back of my calves, and I can feel it in the arches of my feet as well. Ideally, you want to be able to get in this position and be relaxed. If you do this, if you have a board or something that you can put your toes on, make sure you're balanced. Safety first. Okay, so from the wedge, if you have something you can stand on, and once again, I would hold on to the sink, not a counter. And let me get this back into view. Bare feet, parallel feet, and just kind of hang out on it. It's going to do wonders for your arches, and it's going to activate all the nerve endings in the foot. Let's go back to the balance beam in the short foot position. So once again, in this position, because we're in a compromised balance position, the feet and the ankles have to work overtime. We're then going to take a step, and then in my classes, we'll walk on this without looking, and your feet will tell you. So right now, I know I'm off the back of the board, not because I'm looking, but because my feet and ankles are telling me that. And once again, when you were 7 running around the yard, we were not looking at the ground. Our feet and ankles were sending the appropriate messages. Okay, last, and once again, this is really cool and it's so simple, is just walking backwards. In this class, we do it to mobilize the big toe because when you walk backwards, you have to push off on the big toe. But that said, 19 people with back and knee pain gone, and 1 woman with plantar fasciitis that's almost gone, and she's been doing it for probably just 2 weeks. You're going to want to take this slow. Start off in the house because this is a really weird thing to do because you probably haven't done it since you were 5. And now if you're 85, that's quite a bit of time. Hands in the hallway, center island, counter. After a while, you do it really easy, okay? Because your body just becomes acclimated. At that point in time, you can start lengthening the strides to take the sacroiliac joint back here in the lower back pelvis area and bring it through a full range of motion. And once again, knee pain, back pain, plantar fasciitis, so far this is helping quite a few people. So that is it in a nutshell. We don't think about working the feet and ankle. I've been going to the gym for 52 years, and you talk with people there, and I'm working back and biceps, I'm working chest and triceps. I'm dying for someone to come up to me and say, hey, what are you working today? And I say, feet and ankles, okay? Because they'll have no idea what I'm talking about. But once again, your feet and ankles are your interface with the planet, okay? Every time you take a step, information should be going back and forth to the brain, letting you know where your body is in space. Any questions, I can be reached at steveavellino@yahoo.com, my website, Reverse the Aging Processes. And I'll start doing classes here in Stoughton next month, but I'm in senior centers all over the place and also do private clients. Any questions, feel free to email me. If you want the homework for this program, email me and I will get it off to you. Okay? Thank you very much.